Okay, everybody, we are live. We're back. Thank you guys for waiting. I'm going to pop out this chat right here. So we just finished coming off a conversation with Bill Hoffman from Ottumwa, Iowa, the video game capital of the world, preparing for their big event in November, celebrating the 1982 Life magazine photo reunion, where 16 to 19 of esports first superstars will be there. The International Video Game Hall of Fame class of 2016 will be inducted. It will be a bunch of big tournaments there, and celebrating the 36th anniversary of Twin Galaxies. Joining me right now at this wee hours of the night is Billy Mitchell. Billy, what's going on?
Triforce, what can I do for you at 12:43 in the morning that you woke me up?
Yeah, I apologize for calling you this late. I had to, cause
Well, you could always make up for it by hanging up.
man, I can't do that. We got people with streaming live. People actually want to hear from you, the legend himself. So, and there's a
Well, they
lot
want to hear it. They want to hear me say goodnight. I'm happy to say it.
of. No, they don't want to hear you say good night. What they want to hear is the foolishness revolving this stupid nonsense. Earlier today, a gentleman put out a video. Um,
Gentlemen,
yeah, some guy put out. So I don't know if you know about this yet. Some guy put out a video.
well, well, the only way I know about it is you brought it to my attention earlier. I don't ever engage in this smut, as you know,
Mhm.
and I don't really do interviews. When's the last time you? And don't say you either. When's the last time? Tell me the last time you saw me do an interview. When
That
was
you
it?
actually grant someone an interview. Well, if you're not counting people who just come up and record you when you're at public events and then put that online, because that's not really an interview. That's them taking the initiative to just come to a public event. Outside of that, it's been, I don't know. I don't know the last interview you did. I think something with Game Informer, and that was really you, Walter, and Brian Crew, and that was like last year. So like, and
Well,
that,
that,
but they, look at who they
well,
are.
well, that's because I was visiting their office.
Yeah, and that too. So
To be honest, I don't do interviews. I mean, there's so very little real journalism in the world. I wonder if there's any, but I'm sure there's a little bit. And so I don't really do interviews, and I only do interviews when it's somebody sent to me by a friend,
mhm,
or if I've done an interview with the person in the past,
past.
then I do the interview because I think it's like bad etiquette for me not to.
That makes
So,
sense. You.
okay, okay, ask a few questions so I can go back to snoring. What do you got?
All right. So the first thing I want to go over, I'm just gonna. My main question for the audience that's out there. I recognize you. Guinness recognizes you. Twin Galaxies recognizes you. All the authority in competitive
Well, I
gaming.
recognize me too.
Oh, but the point I'm trying to get to is all authority in competitive gaming, esports, whatever you want to call it. They all recognize you as being the first person to legitimately, commercially, and historically record the first Pac-Man game, or the first perfect Pac-Man game. I wanted to.
What kind of crap is that with all the expletives you put on there?
No, you have to.
Commercially, a legitimate. No, it isn't. I did the first perfect score on Pac-Man.
But the reason why I say this is because one can argue that there's someone out there who's beaten Usain Bolt's time at the Olympics. One person can be out there who's I'll use your own line, golf to 59
So,
or
so
whatever.
what you're telling me is if a tree fell in the forest and nobody saw it, did it really fall?
I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna make a statement on that. That in itself explains it. So okay. So with that being said, Billy, tell us how you were the first person to get the perfect Pac-Man score. Go, take us through the story.
Well, I along with Chris gained the knowledge that was necessary back in the 80s of what it took to do a perfect score, because it wasn't just gameplay, okay? It was fundamental knowledge about the game. Not only everything that was programmed into it, which the manufacturer didn't know or realize everything that was programmed into it. Okay, but it included the bugs that were in the game, those bugs that allowed the maximization of points at certain levels. And the fact of the matter is, we had that knowledge, we had those secrets, and we kept them to ourselves. We never shared them, we never publicized them anywhere. And as the years would go on, we would meet people who would occasionally contact, sometimes us, sometime Walter, all the way through the 80s and into the 90s. And they would claim that they had done a perfect score, or that they could do a perfect score, or that they wanted to do a perfect score, or that they did do a perfect score. And it was very simple. I'd get on the phone with them. I'd be on the three-way call. Walter would be there listening. A couple times there were people who visited. I'd ask them a half a dozen questions that nobody in the world knows the answer to. Nobody. And absolutely just blow them out of the box, and they were done. Never did anybody even argue back. Ever. Then one time, this guy called, he and his friends called and said they could do a perfect score. Said they had the knowledge to do a perfect score. He didn't say they did it, okay, because they hadn't done it. These are people that I'm now friends with. And I said to Walter, I said, yeah, okay, Walt, put him on the phone. I'll take care of this. And right there on the phone with Walter listening, I asked him about a half a dozen questions that no chance anybody would know. And they fired back a half a dozen answers exactly the way that I would have answered them. And I actually said to Walter, I said, yeah, these guys are for real. Okay, and there was the first time in the race for the perfect score. So I had always picked on Walter over the years that I wasn't just going to do the score, okay, and just do it just for the heck of it. I said I was going to do it like at the Hard Rock Cafe in London. I was going to do it in some grand fashion. I was going to do it, in some monumental way. Well, at the time it was FunSpot. So with a press release that went out, with me making all of my silly statements, with me having all of my silly ways and silly sarcasms and silly cockiness, I explained and I talked to the media and I said I was going to do it. I had people tell me I couldn't do it. I had people tell me that they would bet anything, and I said, don't bet your life. And they said, there's been 10 billion games. What makes you think that you're going to do it? I says, because in 10 billion games, Billy Mitchell has never tried to do it, and now he's going to do it. I had every little bit of sarcasm, putting pressure on myself, wanting to bring attention to the fact that it was going to happen. I bought a ticket, an open-ended plane ticket, because I didn't know how long I would be there or how long it would take. I wasn't going to come home. I wasn't going to come home till it was done. I was Babe Ruth. I was pointing at the wall, and I was telling the world what I was going to do. And the most important thing was that I did it. Otherwise, I would never live it down. Okay, FunSpot knew I was coming. They had the area. They had it roped off. They had a particular floor walker. His name was Tom. He was a Marine. He's the kind of guy that just looks at you and you back up. He was there. He was guarding the game. There was media there. There was the Boston Phoenix, the Boston Tribune. There was a radio station, and there was the local newspaper, the Weir's Times. As it didn't happen the first day. So just to fast forward to the day that it happened, there was a crowd that continued to gather. It was upwards of about 100 people at the largest point. Okay. And not even my friend Chris knew what was going on. When I suddenly reached the perfect score, I pulled out when I reached the split screen, I pulled out my cell phone and I said, Chris, I'm at FunSpot. And I said, I've just reached the split screen. And he said, no, you aren't. He thought I was kidding. I handed the cell phone to a kid. I don't know who he is, his name, or anything. He took the cell phone, and Chris says, where you at? The guy goes, I'm in arcade, Fun Spot. And he says, you're watching Bill play? Yeah. It's the start of the split screen? He goes, yeah, it's a crazy screen, man. It's all like crazy. And he said, what's the score? And the kid goes, 326,600. Nobody knows that that's the score that you would start on the split screen, except for a hardcore player.
Okay.
And that's how, and so Chris began pounding his keypad, explaining that Billy Mitchell was at Fun Spot and he was doing the perfect score. Okay, when the final score was reached, I was there. That's that famous thumbs up. I turned around, thumbs up. He said, Billy, a perfect score. Give me a quote. And I says, the quote, I never have to play that damn thing again. Okay, but I was there. I was at Fun Spot. I did it. There was people there. There was media there. There was press there. There was a camera there. There was film footage there. I turned it into Twin Galaxies. I did everything that I was supposed to do to authenticate it. I wasn't going to be a crybaby, Johnny-come-lately, why not me, wowsy, wowsy, woo-woo, history skipped me over, okay? I put out a bounty poster for a lot of different high scores. A total of $299,000 was available for somebody or for people to win. There was a guy in Canada who won 2 of the bounties, okay? The bounty for beating my score on Pac-Man, which so many people said they could do, was $100,000. I constantly had people tell me, oh, I got to the split screen. Oh, I got past the split screen. Oh, I got a higher score than that. Yeah, it was worth $100,000. And I heard stuff like, oh, you can't bribe me. I don't need the money. You don't need the money? Why don't you just give it to a charity? I had a guy from Thailand told me that he had done it more than 20 times. Okay, so you can do it one more time. Okay, it was a $100,000 prize and a press release put out in Japan for anybody who could beat me. Okay, nothing. Nobody close. 0. I had to go. I had to fly to Japan. I had to play on Japanese television. Well, you talk about pressure. Okay, I was there at Namco. Namco had never seen, didn't know anything about it. Nothing. 0. It was without a doubt the highest, most, it was the highest point of my illustrious career was to be there at Namco with the kindness that they showed me. There are other players. There are other great players. Okay, I'm actually quite surprised. All of the people in the perfect Pac-Man community, we all talk well about each other. It's one of the unspoiled places in the video game world. I'm very honored by the fact that different people, other players, all of them actually give me credit for what it is I know and what it is I shared. I will say there's one guy in particular who his knowledge is incredible. If we were to all play side by side, he would be the guy that I would be the most concerned about. Notice I don't tell you these people's names.
Yeah.
That's their job to toot their whistle. That's not my job. Okay? My job is to work and push and promote competitive gaming to the best of my ability. And I happen to do a really good job. And I work really hard at it. And yes, there's a certain amount of fanfare and fun that comes with it. And it comes with it, and it's available to other people too, if they choose to work that hard. But if you want to sit behind the keyboard, if you want to be the keyboard commando, if you want to be the crybaby, wow, wow, whoa, whoa, me, okay, you're not going to get the good fortune, the fun, the attention, the admiration, the inspiration, the satisfaction, and the fun that a few of us achieve because we work hard at it. Every time I hear one of these crybaby stories that you share with me, okay, I sit there and say to myself, how is it that I could be so important, that I occupy so much real estate in somebody's mind, don't they have anything better to do or think about? Because I don't think about these things at all. None. I have an extremely normal, extraordinary life. I have a wife. I have children. I have a home. I have business. And that is all what I enjoy the most. And what do I do when I'm not doing that? I have fun out there pushing, promoting, leaving my mark in the world. I hope that one day when I leave this world, I will have done my best to push or promote and ignite competitive gaming. So, and the idea that there's a certain amount of crybaby crap that goes on in the world over the silliest things is just ridiculous. The facts are out there, and it all stems from, as I said in the beginning, a lack of real journalism in the world. I learned to stop doing interviews a long time ago because when I would do an interview, I would give facts, I would give information that a real journalist could go, could look, could research, could find, could substantiate. Okay? I'll give you an example. His name was John Lynn from the New Times. I gave him everything he needed. He went and he verified everything I said, and he printed it. Other people, they print an article, and the article says, well, according to Billy Mitchell, he did this, or according to Billy Mitchell, this happened.
But why
my point is, what do you even need them for? Matter of fact, I should get paid for writing the article. There's no real journalism anymore.
But if you give them the information, isn't it supposed to be their job to go find out whether that information is true or false, so they don't have to say according to you? They can definitively say, well, based on the facts I have found, X, Y, and Z is true or false.
Okay, here's the example. With John Lynn, when he interviewed me, it was about the King of Kong. And he said, well, there was the Guinness contest and the Guinness arcade in order to get in there. He said, when you were there, he says, and you walked past Steve Wiebe. I said, that wasn't a Guinness arcade. I says, that was a warehouse owned by John Russo. I says, they asked John Russo to set up the warehouse and make it look like an arcade so that they could film. And he goes, really? I says, yes. I says, this is the address of the place. I says, this is John Russo's phone number. They didn't write, according to Billy Mitchell, he went to the address to look at the warehouse. He took pictures of the door. It said by appointment only. He called the number. He asked for John. John said hi. He asked John some questions. John says, yeah, they had me set it up like an arcade. He says, it was really cool. It was a lot of fun. He goes, I'd never been involved in a movie before. So he substantiated what I said. That's a journalist. It's not somebody who goes online that you're trying to describe to me, okay, earlier today. You're describing to me a guy that went online, who has a piece of paper that he's waving, that he says is a 35-year-old piece of paper, okay, from Bally Midway, who didn't even make the game, okay, Bally Midway. And the paper says, congratulations, you got a perfect score. Okay, doesn't say what a perfect score is. He's right, they don't know what a perfect score is. Okay? That's not a journalist.
But weren't there the job supposed to do is to contact the company and find someone that can substantiate that piece of paper? And if
of
that's...
course.
Okay, now, so let me ask you this question, because this so-called letter from...
Am I being too honest with you? Can you handle the truth, or would you like me to be a little more blunt?
No, I like these little chases, because I don't want to just give out the information. I want people to piece it together themselves. I want people to turn on their brain and use a critical thinking and get to it. I don't want to feed them the carrot. No, go get your carrot on your own so they can see for themselves. So my next question is to you is this. The gentleman that this... Gentleman. I forgot his name. Bill Basketball? That's his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Close enough.
Bill, okay. they're saying that this is his letter given to him by Bally Midway. When you got
Okay.
this,
Did you?
when you got the score,
Okay. Did you ask Bill?
oh, well, that's a question I was going to ask you because um, why didn't they have Bill substantiate if that's his actual letter? Number two,
Well,
the question I want to
go ahead.
ask you, because I can't ask him. The question, well, actually, I can ask him, and you know something? I'm going to ask him. My second question is, has Bill ever showed you that letter? Ever?
Okay. Well, let me give you the real answer.
Okay.
First began communicating with Bill in January of 1984. Twin Galaxies was still open in Ottumwa.
This is true.
Okay. He was submitting scores for Miss Pac-Man. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Chris and I began communicating with him. Chris went to his house. Chris spent the night at his house. They went to arcades. They played. They exchanged pictures. Okay? There's not a prayer that Bill got a perfect score in 1982. None. Zero. He forgot to explain that to us in all the conversations we had. Okay? Without lying to you, he was nothing but a gentleman. Okay? And he was a great player. Okay? But he forgot to explain to us that he got a perfect score. He forgot to explain to us that he had a letter. Okay? He showed us various pictures of different high scores, and he forgot to show us the one of a perfect score. Okay? I don't believe in the tooth fairy. Not for a long time. Okay? In 1999, in July, about a week to 2 weeks after I did the perfect score, he called me. He congratulated me. We were on the phone for more than an hour. During that call, I put Chris on the phone. It was a three-way call. It was nothing but pleasantries. Okay? And again, Chris and he had far more communication than I did. Okay? Bill was writing books and putting together various things that were impressive in regards to Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. He somehow forgot to share all that information? No. Okay? Again, the Tooth Fairy left town a long time ago. Okay? When somebody flattered me to the highest degree and decided to spend $100,000 doing a movie about me or about me and Walter, okay, somehow convinced Bill how wicked we were. Well, after that, unfortunately, we haven't really been friends. But I hope the very best for Bill. He's a great player. He's a terrific player. You're not going to convince me that he has that letter. And of all people in the world, he decided to turn it over to a select few of people. Give me a break.
Which is my question.
Bally Midway never wrote a letter like that, ever. I had discussions with Namco, because Namco is the one who licensed it to Bally. And I had discussions how they never, ever did anything. They didn't have a promotional department. They didn't do anything to foster or create any goodwill or legacy for Pac-Man. They were simply interested in collecting quarters. Everything you see about Pac-Man now, okay, every time there's a cartoon, a toy, that was never, ever done by Bally. It was only ever done by Namco. Okay, that letter was created by somebody you know very well.
Yeah. Kind of knew that already. Trying to.
It's almost time to go. It's almost time to go to sleep, ain't it? But anyway, so I would think that if this guy you're calling a gentleman goes online to talk a lot of smut, that he would have substantiated this, okay, by talking to the right people. Okay, isn't it kind of odd that the people at Namco explain that I brought all of this to their attention? You were there in Chicago when I sat with Professor Ayatwani, okay? And it didn't matter what question you asked him about Pac-Man. When it came to gameplay, he said, oh, I don't know, you have to ask Billy. Oh, I don't know. You have to ask Billy. He knows more than I do.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
that's true. That's confirmed. That was at the 35th anniversary at the 257.
right?
Well, it's 250. No, it's 257 because they named it after
Right.
the 256 stage. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I pick on them and tell them that they named the arcade after me because they didn't even know about stage 256. So, but anyway, they're very good people. They truly are, and they, like me, don't get caught up in all the smut, except like when you call me and pull me into it.
I really just wanted to get. I'm tired of the foolishness online because the people who go out of their way to create this are really losing their creative edge. They're not. They're like I just told this to Bill Hoffman. They're creating these scenarios, these narratives for stupid people. That's kind of like, oh, come on, Trifles, why would you say that? Like, try to keep it political. But there's no other word I can use to describe what they think about people. This clearly has to be for stupid
Well,
people because anyone
well,
with
you're
half a
actually,
brain would just do the
yeah.
research and find out that this is not accurate. Something there's a hole in this. Something's missing. This guy, you you've been celebrated as the guy with the perfect Pac-Man score since 1999. That is almost 2 decades ago. And after 2 decades of it being celebrated, and how many movies have this been mentioned in? For Christ's sake, they made a movie, Pixels, which has something in the game, in the movie, referring to you, with Peter Dinkley playing as a character about you, about Pac-Man. There was a 35th anniversary for Pac-Man. Then the Cartoon Network made some spin-off, knockoff character about you, and all of these things. And it's now brought up, now, 2017, at
Well,
the
the
end.
well the truth of the but the truth of the matter is, in many ways, you have to embrace what they're doing.
Hmm.
Okay, these people that you in an earlier conversation called losers. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
these people that we say I occupy so much real estate in their mind. Okay, they sit here and they needle and needle and needle and needle the situation. They bring it up. They cry and wowsy, wowsy, woo, woo. My, oh my, Billy, Billy, Billy. I could not possibly pay, with all the money in the world, I couldn't pay for that much attention, that much publicity, that much energy, to the point that almost 20 years later, people are still talking about the perfect Pac-Man score. I would have never believed in my life it was possible. I'm going to give you a very controversial equivalent.
Okay.
Okay? For a year and a half, the media bashed and bashed and bashed and bashed Donald Trump. Maybe he deserved it and maybe he didn't. That's not the point.
Hmm.
They bashed. They brought so much attention to Donald Trump, they got him elected.
Pretty much.
So the fact of the matter is, they have so much unhappiness, so much anger, so much emptiness in their heart for reasons that I can't explain, that I can't help them with. Only God can help them. They have so much energy headed in that direction. It constantly keeps my name, my achievement, my fun, my legacy, my story. It keeps it at the front of the gaming world. I could never, ever spend enough money in my life to make that happen. Ever. And it happens every day. And I don't believe it'll ever end. Now I'm convinced it will never end. And I don't try, even in the very least, to push it even a tiny bit. It all goes by itself. Can you imagine if I did an interview like this? I could do an interview like this once a week, easy.
No, I believe that. That I've seen you in cons and see how many times you reject all the interviews. So like,
Okay, with that in mind, I could go to a game convention.
hmm,
I could go to a Comic-Con, a DragonCon, any kind of con. I could go every single weekend to to a different event, different places all around the world.
Hmm.
It's not what I want. Like I said, I have this house, this wife, these children, this business, this family. This is what I want to do, and I do the rest because it is fun. But that's what it is. I choose to do.
And that's
So,
respectable. One of the things me and Bill brought up is, why do you do it? And I gave my opinion as to why you do it, and I would like if you could give the audience your through your own words. When so let me phrase the question for you so you can answer it. When Walter was putting together the infrastructure to turn competitive gaming into a sport, and everyone was laughing at you guys, calling you guys losers, nerds, dweebs, geeks, you name it. I'm from the 70s, so I'm well aware of what people are calling people just because they just like video games. That's fine. When these guys were doing this to you, and the rest of you guys, can you, who were some of the people who stood up and said, this is what we're about, and we're going to push it because we want to see it flourish to something more than just what we have it at right now?
well, there were people, individuals who did that, but they did it for the time. They did it for the moment. Okay. And earlier, before the podcast came on, you spoke about Ben Gold.
Mm.
When Ben was there, he always worked hard. He always contributed greatly. He just wasn't always there. Again, he had a semblance of a normal life. He went to school and had adventure and, got married, and he wasn't always there. I give him credit for when he was there, but I call him Ben No-Show Gold because when I want him to show up, he isn't there. Todd Walker and Eric Jenner and Mark Robichuk and Steve Sanders, and I can go on and on and on and on. There were people who, when they were there, they did their best, but there wasn't anybody who was always there. I have this saying that I said to my son that whenever you begin something, you're always with a group of people. You're always with a lot of people who have the same thoughts, the same desires, the same intentions. And I say, you have to get used to walking alone, because in the end, you're always going to be walking alone. And without lying to you, I was walking alone. Walter doesn't count. I was walking alone because I don't judge anybody for the decisions they made. But for example, we were at Life magazine. There were 17 of us in that picture, I think. 16 pretty much went home. Again, they did contribute, but as far as a full-time deal, they went home and I didn't. Okay? I got luckier than you can imagine so many times in my life. But I was also there. I was there. I was the only one who could get this lucky because I never missed anything. I have my saying, I says, you're never going to get lucky if you're not there when they spin the wheel around. You'll fail 100% of the time if you're not there. So is some of it good gameplay? Well, some of it is. Is some of it good luck, good fortune? Yeah, some of it is. And some of it is good old-fashioned stubbornness. And but at every point and every place around the country, you heard me talk about Fun Spot. Anything that happens in Illinois, you can always count on Doc Mack, no matter what. Always.
Yeah, this is true.
Anything that happens in California, no matter what, you can count on John Weeks, no matter what. And, there's always people that do their place or do their position. And I guess I continued to do this because at a certain point, I realized the good fortune I had with perfect Pac-Man, and all the attention that was brought and all the media that came down upon me, which was unbelievable. I don't think I could duplicate that again in 100 lifetimes. 100% of the time that I go in public, 100 days, 100 days in a row, I'm recognized, I'm said hello, talked to, and I thought to myself, wow, it's a very powerful gift that was given, and it's this gift that I would use to help, because I'm not the only one who does, but to help ignite competitive gaming. And I'd like to know that I left that legacy, that I left that mark, that I contributed to that degree to make these things happen. And if I didn't have this passion, this hobby, this desire, I'd have a different one. This is just the one I chose. I sometimes wonder what would happen if I chose a different one, you know. I think to myself, gee, could I get so lucky I would discover time travel or something crazy like that? But of course, that's not going to happen. This was what I was good at, and you like doing what you're good at. You like showing off. You like winning. You like being on top. And so I guess I got comfortable doing this, and I guess I am comfortable doing it.
Why do people give you such a hard time for liking winning and showing off when that's something we all do as people? Like that's a human thing. Why do people look down at that? I don't understand that.
Okay, well, if you're ready, we're about to turn the interview on top of its head.
Okay.
You've been with me for more what we'll call events, or more days at different events than you can count anymore, correct?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, give me short answers so I can run through this.
Yeah.
From one coast to another, more than one kind of event, big events, small events, events where we knew people, events where we didn't know anybody. Okay? You have never, and I know you never have because I've never, you have never, ever, one time in all those hundreds of days, you have never one time seen a negative encounter between me and anybody that was there. Not one time.
No, not once. Even when they come to you negative.
So when you're talking to me about why people give me a hard time, you're talking about a bunch of crybabies that I could count on my 10 fingers. A bunch of rabble-rousers who wish they did something else in life other than bitch.
Facts.
And if that hurts, oh well.
Oh well.
Because I get far more satisfaction having the positive interaction I do with so many people. Okay? And that's why I don't watch things, I don't read things. When people send me stuff and say, oh, you got to see this, I hit delete. Because I don't need anything negative when there's so much positive in the world.
This is true. And actually, I got to take a...
But come on. I mean, come on. This is your chance to correct Billy Mitchell. You tell me the time when I had a negative encounter with somebody.
No, there's no time. But see, that's the thing. It's kind of hard to have that type of conversation because I just feel like I'd be an idiot just to even engage into that conversation. There's no, every time I've seen you, every public event, major or minor, I've seen some people come up to you. Remember that girl? Oh my goodness, what place was this? The lady who came up to you and was like, isn't that the Billy Mitchell jerk or whatever? And she is insulting you, and you were so nice to her. And in less than 1 minute, she was hugging you and taking pictures with you. And I looked at Walter and I'm like, does he do this all the time? And Walter's like, that's Billy. And they always walk away with, you're not as bad as they say in the movies. And you're like, and you say like, well, would you like to me to act my part again? And they'll all laugh, and like that lady, the lady who was with her husband and she was hating on you in front of the husband. This is not. I don't know how you do that. And then you was just at that con that I forgot the name of that con, and the guy was like, "My wife's over here geeking out over Billy." And while he's talking with Walter, she's over there grabbing on your arm, and I'm looking at your face, and you're like, "This is an awkward moment."
Yeah.
And that was live online. That's like on YouTube. Like you can actually watch that. And I'm like, what is she doing? Like, come on, stop that. But no, not one, never, 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 never. And I've known you, yeah, 10 years now. It's literally 10 years. 2008 till now, 10 years. Never once.
Yeah. But again, the fact is, I don't have the least bit of ill will or intention for anybody. I don't, not at all. And the fact of the matter is, I have nothing but fun for what I do, and I pour my absolute heart and soul into it. Actually, anybody. Let me talk of any competitive gamer in order to be on that level. You pour your heart and soul into what you do, so you really, really enjoy it. When I do a show, the people that I'm with, like you, like Walter, like Joel, I'm a terrorist. And what I mean is, the show opens at 10, man, I'm in the hotel room kicking and fussing and get out of bed. We got to be there. They're going to open the door. Okay?
True. Facts.
When the door...
Especially
when the door
Walter.
Yeah, when the door opens, I'm going to be standing right there to greet the people when they walk in. And there's no, oh, take a break. It's go, 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 go. And when the show closes at 10 o'clock, I'm the one that pulls the door shut. Boom. Because we're going to give 110% effort for what it is we do.
You always tell people, I'm here. What do you need me to do? You always do that.
Right.
That's a fact.
I say people drove hours here to say hi, or to get an autograph, or to get a picture, or to ask a question, or to do a selfie, or whatever. If I'm there and there's people in line to speak, to talk, to say hi, to engage, I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if they're going to be starting something in the next room. I'm not going to walk away from people in a line who traveled and came there with the purpose to see me. I'm never going to be that guy that's going to walk away. If they showed me enough respect that they come to an event because of me, I'm going to give them the respect to be right there. And I'm not going to be told, oh, it's too late. Oh, we got to hurry. Oh, you got to tell those people no. And every time I do an event, I've had that conversation with the event organizer so they can coordinate it, because if they say, come on, Billy, we start in 5 minutes, I look at them and say, you're not going to start without me, and I'm not going to go until I finish these last 6 people in line. So that's where the arrogance comes. No, that's where the arrogance comes in. When I go, you think they'll start without me?
But see, the thing is, people take that out of context and they try to change that. They don't understand the context behind it. And you're 100% right. There are people you're dealing with signing their games or whatever the case may be, and guys, organizers trying to rush you, and there are people online. I see little kids looking worried that you're about to leave and go do what you have to do, and they're not going to do, and you're not going to start without me. You're going to wait, and they have to wait. And you go through all those kids and all those people, and then after everyone's done, then you go, and then when you come, you let people know, I'll sign an autographs for kids. What do you want me to do? That's just the reality. But then people take that, they take the one part about the thing when you go, what are you going to do, start without me? They take that, remove the rest of the context, and you go, you know, Billy's the type of guy, he'll go, and then we'll have a whole convention going on, and then they'll say, oh, they're not going to start without me. Yeah, okay, can you finish the rest of the story? Can you put the rest of the piece of the story in there so you don't make him look like this jerk that you're trying, this narrative that you're trying to create? And I've seen this for myself. I watch people do it, and it's annoying.
But remember, but remember, like I said, all of these crybabies send such serious attention. Okay, they're the fuel that runs the fire. So let her rip. I don't have a problem with it at all. I don't have a problem playing the bad guy at all. It's a lot more fun. Oh, well.
Yeah, it is actually fun to be the bad guy. Which brings me to something, and this is something that I brought up to Bill Hoffman in our earlier segment when we were talking about what is going on. So I've named this segment is called The Invisible War. Well, for you, it's called The Invisible War 2, because Bill Hoffman was our first segment. What is this random attack on the Legends legacy? I say this, but let me put it into context for those who's like, what is Triforce talking about? Within the last 2 months, September and October, these 2 months alone, I guess you can say August. Let's say 3 months. Okay, half of August, because we're not even half in October. So in the last 2 months, in the last 60 days, Todd Rogers' 35-year legacy record in Dragster has been disputed. His defeated, his 26-year-old defeated Wharf record was disputed. Your back-to-back Donkey Kong World record to get into the International Video Game Hall of Fame at the Big Bang event, that was questioned. Well, that's being disputed. And then now your perfect Pac-Man score. Now, I have no problem.
Okay, all right. Well, let me start by correcting you. Those Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. scores were not to get me in the
I just call it
in the Hall of Fame. I was going in the Hall of Fame with or without them.
This is true. This is true.
Or without anything else.
I call them the Hall of Fame records because it was the record that you unveiled right before accepting your Hall of Fame speech. But thank you for correcting that, because we don't want people to take that out of context and get it wrong. So you did that to, in my opinion, I think that was genius marketing. That also heightens your entry into the Hall of Fame.
Well, like I said, we work hard at the stuff we do.
And actually, I get into arguments with people, but yeah, why did he have to do that? And I'm like, what do you mean, why did he have to do that? That's good marketing.
'Cause I'm Billy Mitchell, that's why I got to do it.
I just don't understand people. This is so dumb. Like, it just annoys it. But my question regarding this is, I notice the pattern here. These records have huge, significant implication on the integrity of the history of esports. They're not just regular records. These are like some real serious, heavy-duty historical records that people are all of a sudden questioning and making big deals of it. And it makes me wonder, are these legitimate concerns of these records? Or is there forces marshaled at trying to rip away the very fabric of the history? And why isn't anyone doing anything to defend it? Do they not know that trying to have these people use social media to create their own narrative strips away the very integrity of the 30+ years Walter built into Twin Galaxies? Do they not know that this is doing more harm than good? Like, this is clearly not doing good. You don't need to have an IQ of 2 to understand that this is bad. This is, like, I don't understand it. Can you tell me why? I can't grasp it.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, boy.
I'm only kidding.
Okay.
Please don't. Okay, first of all, as you know, and why don't we line up a polygraph, okay?
All right.
As you know, I don't read any of this stuff.
Okay.
Nothing. I've had people apologize to me for the things they've said, or the things that they've written, or the things that they said were out of context. And I says, you don't have to apologize to me. I says, I didn't see it. I don't read it. But I'll narrow it down, okay?
All right.
First of all, Jace Hall. Hi, Jace. Jace Hall sent me about 6 weeks ago, maybe more. Ooh, look at this link. Ooh, you should respond to this. Delete. I didn't even read it. I had no idea what it was about. Of course, over time, in conversations with people that I know, like yourself, but other people too, will say, oh, this is being said or that's being said. I says, oh, so what? Okay. Today, Jay says, did you see this? Delete. And I wrote him, yes, you sent me that a couple of months ago. And yes, I hit delete.
You really deleted his stuff?
Okay?
Why didn't you at least
I
look at
really, no, I don't look at it
it?
because I don't need any negativity. However,
Uh-huh.
that doesn't mean I'm not aware of stuff. Okay?
All right.
You asked me about, you mentioned in your question Pac-Man, and I think I answered that well.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's, instead of talking about me, let's go over to something that I do know a lot about. Okay, Todd.
All right.
Okay? It's really bad for the credibility of people and organizations and scoreboards and books and magazines and individuals when this happens. Because, for example, it was 1982, late 1982. It was into 83, and I heard about this guy who was being paid by Activision to play games. The first person ever to be paid to play video games. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Who the hell is this guy? Who does he think he is? Billy Mitchell? Actually, I didn't say that at the time. That's a line that came out later. But I was flat out jealous. What, are you kidding me? Man, we all wanted to play video games, and we all wanted to get paid for it. And
Naturally.
this guy was getting paid for it. Well, what did he do? Well, he did the score on Dragster. And it was, oh, well, what score did he get? Well, anybody could say they got the score. I want to do that. Then 2 months later or whatever, oh, he did it at a at a convention in front of Activision. Oh. Wow. 2 months later at another convention, a few months later, he did it again in front of Activision instead of in front of a different group of Activision people. Oh, it was pretty easy to be jealous. Okay? And I never met this guy that they called, okay, Todd Rogers. I never met him. Fast forward all the way to the year 2000 when I met him. Okay? And it was just absolutely unbelievable to me that he had achieved that. I mean, I looked at him with tremendous admiration, to be honest with you. Maybe jealousy is a better word, I don't know, but it was awesome. And all these years later, somebody wants to pretend that it didn't happen, but all the people at the convention lied.
Pretty much.
The people from Activision lied. 2 different sets of people at 2 different conventions. It was submitted to Guinness. There were people who weren't there to make history back in the 80s. They weren't there. They weren't there to make history. They weren't part of history. And the best they can do now is try to rewrite history. Nobody, not me, not you, not Chase Hall, not Guinness, nobody has that authority. None. He did it. It's real. It's authenticated. It cannot be argued. It belongs to him forever. And if any individual or any organization decides they're going to pull it back, okay, then they do nothing but make a fool out of themselves and lose credibility.
Yeah,
because it was there.
Because I said to myself, what people is like, they're calling. This is the same. It's like you're in the same situation, right? With Todd, the guy that made this video today about you is considering you a fraud, and I'm like, why? Because Namco gave him the record? How can you be the fraud? You're just accepting a record from a company that authenticated what you did live. Like I said,
but this goes all the way back to the beginning of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It would be somebody like this guy who would call me and say, "Can I do an interview with you?" No, you can't. You don't even know how to do an interview. Okay? Or someone will say, "Gee, would you like to come on and tell your side of the story?" No, I don't.
You don't have a side of the story.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had including recently. A guy called me and said, "Well, it's going to be the 10th anniversary of the King of Kong." And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "I thought you might like to do interviews." And I go, "Well," I says, "to be honest, I don't really do interviews." And I said, what kind of interview were you looking for?" And he goes, "Well, I just thought I'd give you a chance to tell your side of the story." And I go, "What side of the story?" And I go, "It's a movie. What did you want me to tell you about a movie?" And I go, "Do you think I've had the opportunity to tell a side of the story before you've called me in the past 10 years? And he goes, "Well, yeah, I guess so." I go, "You guess so?" I go, "Why don't you do your research? It's all out there."
Yeah.
I go, "You could do it. You could do a whole story." I says, "You could even send it to me and have me comment on it." I says, "But you want me to give you my story." So it would be another one of those, according to Billy Mitchell.
Pointless.
I mean, I've had enough according to Billy Mitchell's. So what we have here is, I've told you how I feel about most so-called journalists. But going back to what you said, these people weren't there to make history. They weren't there to be a part of history or achieve history. Johnny-come-latelys. So what can they try to do? Is they can try to rewrite history. Okay? Rob, who you know, or have come to know rather well, who's my partner in different business, he calls me all the time. And he's laughing, and I go, "What are you laughing at?" And he goes, "Loser syndrome." And that's what he calls it. They weren't there to be a part of history. They weren't there to make history. So the best thing they can do is try to rewrite history. And I thought about it. I thought to myself, I was there at Life magazine. It was my opportunity. And I happened to reach out and grab it and be in that first competitive gaming photo. That was the history that was there that I could grab. Okay? Time went on. Records were set. In 1984, I was able to reach out and grab history and be the Player of the Year. In 1999, I had the opportunity to reach out, grab, be the first perfect Pac-Man, and be the video game player of the century and travel to Japan. That was the history that was available to me. I wasn't there, and it wasn't available for me to be the first guy to walk on the moon. It just wasn't there. It just wasn't available. Okay? I wasn't there in 1903, because sure as hell I would have jumped in the plane at Kitty Hawk, and I'd have been the first person ever to fly in an airplane. But I wasn't there for history. That doesn't mean those people didn't do it, because they did do it. Okay? But somewhere there's people who want to say it didn't happen. There's people who want to believe that, because then it'll give them the opportunity to step into history somehow.
Yep.
It's so ludicrous. There's people who will sit there and argue with you that guys never did walk on the moon. It was done in a Hollywood studio. I mean, there's always a crybaby somewhere, and you'll waste so much of your life to sit there and engage that. And that's why I don't read it. I don't listen to it. I hit delete. I'm not the only one who does that, by the way.
I'm sure you aren't. There's a lot of people.
Don't get caught up in the loser syndrome. I mean, nobody should. And there's so many people that get caught up in it, that if they, as I say, they came out from behind their keyboard and they came out and they engaged with everybody, they'd have a lot of fun. They would get the recognition that they would like or that they deserve. And it would be a lot of fun, and it would be friendships and adventures. You can do that. Or you can just sit behind your keyboard and piss and moan and be miserable.
Keyboard commandos.
Yeah, some people choose that.
Mhm. Oh man, see, I guess now you and Todd's in the same. Well, actually, not necessarily. Your situation is not as bad as Todd, because we all know the facts or whatever the case may be. It's just
Yeah, I don't think Todd should have ever engaged those people because his accomplishment is beyond their credibility.
this is
You
true.
know, if they want to question him, if they want to learn, if they want to research, if they want to understand,
Mhm.
okay, if they want to challenge the situation or try to duplicate it or beat it, all of that is awesome. That's part of competitive gaming. But they don't. They just want to bitch.
Oh man, this Billy Mitchell. 100%. So, what are we gonna do about these shadow guys behind the scenes? I'm actually getting sick and tired of them. Like, you would think they would stop for a while to give people a breather, but it's like they're annoying me now. Before I just thought I'll let them stay over in their corner and do what they do. We'll continue to do what we do, and that's it. But now this is getting out of hand. It really is.
If we don't, if we don't have, if they don't have us to hold their attention, to hold their imagination, and to steer their life, then they don't have anything. So really, what can you do? You could have pity on them. You could pray for them because you can't help them. Only God can help them.
Well,
So,
I wonder if they understand that all they're doing is creating a hole that they're falling into, and soon the very same people that they have these conversations with try to have them accept their narrative are going to turn on them because they're going to be like, okay, we're getting nowhere on this, and then they're going to be blown up, and there's a level of destruction that you'll do to yourself that you cannot repair. No amount of time okay, let me vanish from the scene for a while and I'm going to rear my head and everyone's going to say, no. You put yourself in that Roy Schultz position where it's just, that's it. It's over. People see you, they just dignify your human existence, but no one wants to deal with you. It's just like, hey man, look, I understand whatever issue you had, but like, don't want to be involved. And I don't think these guys understand that's what they're doing. They're going to destroy themselves. History is irredeemable. Like you cannot change the time stream. It is immutable. You push too hard, time will push back, and it will remove the irritant. These guys think they're gods. I got something for them. Ah man, November 10th can't come any faster. Because once I'm in, I'm pulling out the guns. I'm just gonna start shooting people in their face, like
well,
for real.
it seems ironic that you tell me that the people who complain about these things, you told me, or maybe I'll embarrass you here on your podcast. You told me that it'll say member since 2016, since 2014, member since 2015. I don't get it. Are they all like newcomers who long for the opportunity to be part of the golden age of video games and they weren't there? And I mean, I really don't know. I don't know the answer.
But they can't.
I mean,
I don't understand. Okay, I was okay. I was alive during the time, but I wasn't there. I was able to go make my own way and contribute to the foundation and be a part. Why can't they? And I didn't have the resources, the tools, or the opportunity. I had a far harder path, especially if I'm an immigrant from another country coming in. So there is no excuse. I'm just looking at them, and you're right. They're just bitching, and it's ridiculous. Why? Like, they gotta have something else to do. And
well, what I take notice to when you mention the dates that you did, I think about people. You know, if I think of that Life magazine photo, I mean, like Todd Walker, he was the first qualifier for That's Incredible.
yeah,
Man, he was the best, man. He was incredible. He truly was. Of course, Ben ultimately won. That's incredible. Mark Robichek, who I think will be in Ottumwa in November, and I go to guys who weren't. I go to guys who weren't in the photo, like Don Hayes. You know,
he needs to.
And I just think about all these players. None of them are the ones that do any bitching. It's, I don't know, it's unhappy people who have come along. I don't really know what to say.
I want to bring.
I don't have an explanation for it.
I want to bring up something. I just want to make sure I'm correct when I say this, Billy. We were in Ottumwa last year. We saw
You there?
Matt. Hello?
Yeah, okay. I'm still here.
We were in Ottumwa last year. We watched Man vs. Snake. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just making sure.
You watched Man vs. Snake. I didn't, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because I was sitting next to you and Walter's chair and you weren't there.
Right.
Always finding a reason not to watch these things. You and Dwayne Richards, or let me not say you and Dwayne Richards, because I'm basing this based on Dwayne Richards in the movie, that he has risen above all of the issues he had with Twin Galaxies and everybody that he had an issue with, and he has gone past that. Because according to the movie, and this is a movie, so you know we don't know how accurate this is, which is why I'm asking you. But are you cool with Dwayne Richards? Has he really just come to a point where it's like he doesn't have any of that negativity anymore, and he's just cool with everybody, and he just does his thing?
Well, I haven't spoken any conversation or sentences with Dwayne since 2008. So you're kind of asking the wrong guy. However, I have been told by people who are friends of mine, whose word I would accept, and people who are, who would, speak well of Dwayne, is that yes, he's basically, sort of become more positive, and, I guess things are sort of headed all in the right direction, and he's, different people are happy with their lives. It causes them to be, happier people, and, I haven't really heard any bad news about Dwayne, and I don't read anything bad because I don't read anything. There's not a single forum I go on or anything like that, so I just always say that I hope the best for people, and maybe I hope the best for people because I truly hope the best for people. Or maybe it's a selfish thing. Maybe I hope the best for people because if you don't hope the best for people, it'll come back and bite you in the ass and hurt yourself. So I don't really know what the answer is, but I haven't heard any bad news.
Okay, that's good, because apparently a lot of guys want to bring up Dwayne Richards and the whole Pac-Man debacle, and they're like, it's fact, and I'm like, no, and I tell people, no, it's not fact, it's their point of view. That's all it is. The
facts of what happened are exactly what I explained to you.
The fact is, you're the guy that got the first Pac-Man score. That's the fact. Everything else, whatever happened in between, are different people's points of views of what happened that leads to the ultimate fact, and that's it. And I keep telling these people this all the time, and it's just annoying. So I'm glad you came on. Cyrus Martin is in the chat. He says he's a huge fan of yours, and he's a friend of the guy Tipster who made the video, and he says he's just learning about all of this, and he has the highest respect for all of what is going on, and he hates the fact that this happened. And I just explained to him that the guy who did the video isn't the actual problem. He's a tool, and I don't mean that in a facetious manner. I mean that in the context that the people who gave him this information to do that video used him as a platform. So if anything happens and backfires when we get the actual actual source and information, it doesn't go back to the source. It goes back to the guy who was used. So,
Well, you and I know who the sources
oh yeah,
are. So.
I just told him that. I said, oh, we're not attacking Tipster. We're attacking through him. We know who the source is. We know that letter is nonsense. We know that whole thing. We've been knew. Once we saw that and we said, and we're like, you got to be kidding. Like, oh my God, guys got to find something else better to do.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you know, it really stinks when people who are weak-minded get used like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for example, you were speaking about Dwayne's movie.
Yeah.
And somebody called me laughing hysterically, because a lot of us find this quite funny. Laughing hysterically because he said that he just turned on Dwayne's movie and searched through it where he thought he would find what he knew he would find that he had seen. And at the end of Dwayne's movie, in the credits, which is an odd place to put it, but in the credits, it says that Bill never got a perfect score on Pac-Man, except one he got where he used the pause button. Well, it didn't say that in the movie because it wouldn't make a very good movie with that fact being there.
The credits?
It says in the credits that Bill Bastable's high score on Pac-Man, his perfect score, was done using the freeze button. So Mr. Tipster didn't do his job as a journalist, which is disappointing, since people count on him to do his job. Okay? Again, that doesn't mean that Bill's not a great player. He is. What it means is when he did his high score on Pac-Man, he used the pause button, which is fun. It's not official. It's not real. And he sure as hell didn't do it back in 1980.
Oops. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Got disconnected from Bill. Give me a second. I'm going to call him back. Yeah.
Hi, you reached Bill Mitchell. I'm sorry I'm unavailable to take your call.
1 second.
Please leave your name and phone number. I'll call you back as soon as possible.
Someone called his phone. Give me a couple of minutes, guys. I'm gonna call him right back. It's probably someone called his phone, and anyone who calls Bill's phone, because I'm using Skype to call his phone, it automatically drops the call. But as you guys can, as you guys heard from Bill, that there was a freeze button. This is in the documentary where it's talking about Bill Bastable going for the score, and he used a freeze button. And as Bill said, it was for fun, but it wasn't official. And this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. The difference between being the actual first person to do it and being the first official person to do it. That's why I use that whole C&D and, you know, the Nintendo line for the Switch or the Wii U or the Game Boy 3DS or whatever it may be. I'm like, there are people out there that will get things first. But then there's an official event which will mark the official first person and record it in history. And that's what counts as the first. Let me try to call Bill back. Hopefully he'll pick up. All right, that's really
Hi, you reached Bill Mitchell. I'm sorry I'm
call him back. Let me see something. Thank you for explaining and being so fair about it. I seriously respect and admire you both. Billy Mitchell is obviously a legend, and Triforce is amazing. Seriously, like we said, Cyrus, we know it's not Tipster. Like Bill said, he's more disappointed in the fact that Tipster didn't do his due diligence before accepting this. But we all learn, so this will be a good stepping stone for Tipster to now know that whenever someone comes to him with some sort of explosive news and source, he's going to say, well, I got burnt the last time I took that from someone. So thank you for the information, but I'm going to do my due diligence next time and get all the information. In fact, I need to find out what your credentials are, and I'm gonna double check on you first, because you just have some people out there who, like, if this was the issue, like, why don't they just go to some like big main journalists or whatever and have them do that. You know why? Because an actual credible journalist is going to worry about their reputation. And they're going to be like, how do you know this is factual? Because this, who gave that letter? Who from that company can verify that letter is original or authentic? We're in the age of Photoshop, people. Come on. We're in the age of Photoshop. You got to double, triple, sometimes quadruple check the sources. You have people who can, there's a new program by Adobe that can actually redo your voice. So like we're going in an age where you gotta like really screen your information. You don't screen that information properly, you don't know who you're getting is false. Man, for all you guys know, I could be having my brother talking on the line using Adobe's new voice program where we sampled Billy's voice, and it's my brother talking with his voice being digitalized by this Adobe sound program. You don't even know if that's Billy's on this call or whatever the case may be. So hold on, let me try to call him back. If he's home sleeping, who could it be calling him at this time? So definitely somebody call him because his phone is ringing out. Yes.
Hi, you reached Bill Mitchell. I'm sorry I'm unavailable to take your call. Please leave your name and phone number.
No, Captain Lorkel, I did not expose myself. I'm just letting it be known that we're in an age where his phone could, yeah, I'm calling his cell phone, so it could have ran out of battery. I'm going to give it 5 more minutes and I'll call him back in 5 minutes. If it doesn't call back, I guess it's a good time to end the call anyway. We've spoken enough about the situation. I can give a close on this. But the point we're trying to make is this. As I said in my vlog video that I put earlier, I personally, this is me personally, so it's my point of view, this is not fact. I believe that there was some guy who probably did a perfect Pac-Man score long before Billy Mitchell. It wasn't official. Never reported it, never recorded it, right? And Billy Mitchell did it first. He did the score first, he did it live. Went through the protocol with the right people from Namco, the creators of the game, went to Japan, got it on TV, media, whatever the case may be, went through the bells and the whistles. He's first. Official. People can laugh about it, people can cry about it. In the words of Billy Mitchell, people can bitch about it. It's not going to change the facts, not going to change the history. Same thing with Todd Rogers. And the real organizations that really like concern themselves with the integrity of these records are going to stick with the integrity. They're not going to allow social media to bully their narrative and change history. And that's what this is all about. People trying to use social media to bully and change history. And we're just not about that, man. We're not about that. So let me try to call him one more time. If not, we're going to close out this segment. This is the 4th time. So if it goes to a voicemail, then... Hi, this is Bill Mitchell.
Sorry, sir.
Oh, wow, we got you. I thought it was going to go to voicemail. Someone called you and it cut us off. So, yeah, that's what happens when I call from Skype. But I was just going over what you were explaining to people about journalism and and what is needed, you know, to double check. And I was explaining to Cyrus that these people really put Tipster in a bad position, because now this questions his credibility as a journalist. But it's also good for him, because now he knows the next time anyone comes to him with some kind of source, he's going to know to do his due diligence and then check the credibility of the source he's getting. Because look at the situation he got put in over this nonsense, especially with now you're revealing that in the credits of Dwayne Richards' movie, in the middle of the credits, not even the beginning, not even the end, in the middle. Who watches the middle of credits? Why wasn't this explained in the beginning of the movie? Why wasn't any of this stuff explained? Why would you put this in the credit, like you said? Because it wouldn't sell the movie. And
Right.
people have to understand, like, yo, listen, man, there are agendas at work here. People, please use your critical thinking. The first thing people should have said off top, why is this being brought up 20 something years later? You so-called got this perfect Pac-Man score in 1982. It is 2017. That is 35 years later. And you want to bring up a letter you got from Midway 35 years later? 35 years? People, please use the brain God gave you. Please. Actually, we have 10 more minutes, so I'll leave you with the closing, Billy. We can close off that, or we can close off on whatever you want to tell the audience out here, and we'll call it a day. We'll call it a night, actually.
Well, you asked me why he put it in the credits in the middle, and I said, well, if they put it in the movie, it would have spoiled the movie, you know. And in The King of Kong, I guess the story is that I just chose, you know, not to play Steve. Well, the fact of the matter is that I originally had 3 one-hour conversations with Steve, very friendly, and I invited him to the Classic Gaming Expo. And it was in San Jose, and of course he showed up there, and it was a very good time there at the Classic Gaming Expo. I went on stage at the dinner, and I spoke about Steve. I spoke about his sportsmanship, his contribution to the game, and his ability. And I unveiled a poster that I had commissioned in his honor and spoke of him. And I called him up on stage, and he spoke. So the two of us were on stage speaking. And then we had the weekend to play, and that was on Friday night. And on Friday night, I did a kill screen, 929,000 at the time. And the controls were terrible. They were. And they were bad controls. And he eventually, on Sunday, did a kill screen. He got 893. People say, but why wasn't that in the movie? And I say, because if they put it in a movie, it would have spoiled the movie. Remember, whether it's a movie, or whether it's a podcast, or whatever it is, it's there for entertainment. It's there to draw people's attention. But don't believe everything you see, not good or bad. But worse than that, it's a journalist's job to be inquisitive. It's a journalist's job to verify things. If you just want to be a gossip columnist, then call yourself that. So, that's all.
And on that note, I'm going to let you get back to sleep, Billy. I apologize for calling you so late at night. It's like 2 a.m. over by you. But thanks for
What do you mean you
on.
apologize? You mean you're sorry you called?
Well, no, I apologize for waking you up. I'm not sorry that I called. I'm glad I called because I really wanted you to really.
You see how I managed to get the truth out of you? You're not sorry you called.
That's true. I just wanted to make sure. I should have called you first. I think Bill could have done the late night run, but I should have called you first. But I am glad that you came on. I haven't talked to you in a while anyway, but let me let you get back to sleep. I'll talk to you a couple more times before I see you in Ottumwa, Iowa in November. So you'll be coming down for the Life Magazine photo shoot, the reunion in the Hall of Fame. So I'll definitely see you there. A couple of my guys that I'm coming with, they said they know you're going to trash them in Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, but they just want to be known to have even played you and film you destroying them in the game. So you got some young guys coming down, whole new generation. So thanks, Billy, for coming on. I'm going to let you go. All right?
Talk to you later. Bye.
Talk to you later. All right, night. All right, guys, so there you have it. We had Billy Mitchell on and Bill Hoffman from the video game capital of the world. Where is this? Okay, yeah, I'm pointing right here. So I'm going to do my little 20-second closing. You guys want to catch the original Secret Wars first video, the part 1 with Bill Hoffman, you can check here in our end cards, and you'll see that. And then I'll also put in a couple of OG one-on-one esports videos with Billy Mitchell and some stuff with Walter Day. But thank you guys for joining us. Peace and good night.